Yes.
Question.
Yes.
In Sefer Devarim, Kodesh Baruch Hu says, I'm going to let you conquer Eretz Israel slowly, 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 so the animals don't eat you up or fear the animals.
Right.
I didn't think it was, no, I cannot quote it exactly.
Okay.
Do you know approximately what I'm talking about?
I do. I do.
Good. Since it's not the Jews here anymore, could this be taking that protection off and letting the animals mess them over?
So the answer I would think off the top of my head would be yes, but it's a double thing. That could be for sure. The second is that it's a glaring direct punishment because even though that what you're saying is obviously accurate, it doesn't mean it would happen immediately. Here we see it's almost immediate. As soon as this transfer takes place and they come in. Okay.
Why didn't he try the Ariot with the Te'es Shvatim?
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay.
Why?
That you're going to have to hang on for. That you're going to have to hang on for. Actually, I'll give you a.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
No,
I'll
I'll
wait.
give you a
I'll
different.
wait.
I'll give you a short answer. Okay.
No,
The
I'll
answer is
wait.
the last
Dad,
25
I'll wait.
psukim. No, the answer is the last 25
I'll
psukim.
wait. Good. I'll wait.
Okay, well, that's your answer.
I'll wait. What?
The answer is the last 20 or so psukim. Hashem
Okay.
said why. Hashem said, I sent, instead of doing the punishment through animals, he sent messenger after messenger after messenger, giving one opportunity after another without having to resort to any other plague, without any other attack of wild animals, any makot, because it was Hashem wanted. It was apparently seems to have been his ratzon that it was through the heart and not fear. That's part of what's coming in here now. Is that which was mentioned earlier? These people will do a form of gerut, will convert, but they're called the gerei arayot. They converted out of fear of the lions. Hashem didn't want us to come back to him out of fear. Hashem wanted us to come back to him out of love. It's a very, very big difference between yirat Hashem and ahavat Hashem. Hashem wanted it ahavat Hashem. Okay, and he stresses that throughout Torah and Navi. Okay, now I meant to start taping this in the very beginning, and I'm sorry for those who are going to only see this on tape that I'm picking this up in the middle. But I just want to restate: we're in Perek Yud Zayin. We're about to read Pasuk Kavav, or number 26. But the question was, I wanted to they had to do with all these questions of why is it that the non-Jewish people who were transferred into Israel were suddenly punished very quickly? The very short answer again had to do with the fact that they disrespected not only God, but even more importantly, in quotes, the Kedushat Eretz Yisrael, and therefore were susceptible to almost instant punishment from Hashem. So now the king of Assyria is in a pretty bad position because what has he done? First of all, it makes it look, there are two things problematic. Number one, his people, the people he transferred there, are getting knocked off. And number two, if word gets back to the Jews who are in Galut, they're going to think, oh, God's just clearing the path for us. He brought these non-Jews came in, Hashem knocked them off, and we're on the next boat back. Well, it's not a boat, but you know what I mean. So let's take a look now. Pasuk Kaf Vav number 26. Vayamru lemelech Ashur lemor, and they said that they, more than likely was his officers, said to the king of Assyria, Hagoyim asher higlita, the nations that you exiled, vatoshev b'arei Shomron, and settled them in the cities of the Shomron, lo yadu et mishpat elokei haaretz. They are unaware, they don't know the rules of the God of the land. Notice elokei haaretz. Vayishalach bam et ha'arayot. He sent against those people the lions, v'hinam mimitimotam, and they are killing them. Kasher einam yodim, as in fact as they don't know, at mishpat elokei haaretz. Again, the same phrase, that they are unaware, they don't know the rules of the God of the land. Okay. What is that going on here? What does this mean, the God of the land? Say it. Elohim, Hashem. What does it mean, Elokei Haaretz? So, as I mentioned before, that many of the other nations believed in, and if not any nation that wasn't Jewish, pretty much, for the most part, were polytheistic. They believed that there were gods, multiple gods, God chas v'shalom to say that, and that there was a special one that had some special relationship with the land of Israel. And evidently, he, with a capital H, had some
Who is
special
he
rules
referring
for
to?
living in
He.
those. Sorry?
Who is he referring to? He. He
Hash-
incited lions against them.
God, Hashem. Hashem. That's the point. That they're making a point now to the king of Assyria that this God or Hashem is something is a force to be reckoned with, and we need to deal with that. There is already a belief on their part that there's something that we need to bring a Jewish flavor. We need to open a bagel store. We have to have a deli, somewhere in the Shomron because we need a Jewish flavor. I'm being a little facetious, but in a sense, not. What is it that they need to establish? So let's take a look. It gives them an idea. It gives the king an idea. Vayetzav melech Ashur lemor, and the king of Assyria commanded and said, Holichu shama echad meha kohanim asher iglita misham. I want you to take one of the kohanim back that was taken into Galut into Assyria. Bring him back. I specify him in a minute. We'll see why. Back to the Shomron. V'yelchu v'yeshvu sham. Bring him and have him settle there. V'yorem et mishpat elokei haaretz, and let him teach them the rules of the God of this land. What is he telling us? What is he commanding his people to do? Get a teacher. You need some quick study. You need a very quick crash course in Judaism. Why a Kohen? Why Dafka Kohen? Because if you remember, the amount of Kohanim was far greater than was necessary to serve and work in the Beit HaMikdash. And over the course of time, their Kohanim, by lottery, had their jobs of which days they would work. And the rest of the time, they didn't just sit there watching Netflix. What did they do? They were teachers. The Kohanim were the educators of Am Yisrael. And since they were the educators of Am Yisrael, the king of Assyria says, take one of these educators and bring him to the land of Israel, to the Shomron, and have him become the teacher. Now that, I've been teaching for, relatively speaking, a long time, officially and unofficially. I don't think, no matter how good a teacher I might be, no matter how good any teacher might be, is able to teach a vast amount of people without the use of the modern technology. One person. We're going to see it's probably two, but one person. So why do you think he does that? Why one guy? Why not, maybe I'm going to make up a number. Let's say there were 15,000 people that were settled in the land. How can he expect one person to do all that? Bring 100 teachers. Why wouldn't he do that? What do you think? If he wants to teach them.
So they don't reestablish a native Jewish community there under his noses.
So you get an extra 10 points on the final, by the way, because of all these good answers tonight. You're correct. Right on. He didn't want to make it appear that they had a foot in the door, because already the Jews may have thought that they had a foot in the door because, hey, God's causing these non-Jews to get knocked off. So maybe we have a foot in the door. Now, on top of that, you bring about 100 people back and you make them teachers. Hashem's just paving the way. He wants to tell us to do tshuva, and we're back. Next pasuk, number Kaf Chet, please. Actually, no, it's before that. Let me go here. Okay, Kav Zayin. Look in the top here. Melech Ashur mekabel hadvarim be'emunah. The king of Assyria, he could have very easily said, tough luck. That's the way it is. I don't care. I mean, it's not like these people are important to him other than just making sure the Jews don't go back there. But he accepts this message that something needs to be done. He responds to these messengers in the same syntax that they spoke to him. He is prepared to somehow subjugate himself to a degree to God, to Hashem. Just so these people will stay in the land. Yirmiyahu said only, like he spoke briefly. He didn't give us the whole story. Melech Ashur kara lehityatzut. The king of Assyria asked for consultation. And he even asked the Jews, the Zikenim, the elders, for their idea. So in the heart of these elders, there was like this awakening of hope. Shema yuchlu al yedei zeh lashuv la'aretz. Maybe through this we'll be able to return. See, this is what I was saying. You were right before. Achar sheyireh melech Ashur she'ein haaretz mekabelet anashim she'enam shomrim Torah, because they saw that the land was not accepting those people who were not keeping Torah. Ulam melech Ashur lo mileh et tikvatam. The king of Assyria did not fill their hope. Ki gam hu lo pa'al kan be'orach tiv'i. He also didn't act in a natural fashion. V'yad Hashem hi shaita labdas, and it was Hashem's doing, Hashem pulling the strings in this case, lasot et ha'pula habilti tivit hazot, which would be to send a single individual. And I'm going to read a couple lines here, go down to where it says mehakohanim, and then we're going to look at a Pirkei de Rabbi Lazar in a minute. Yonatan Tirgem kan chad mikahanya. When it says mehakohanim, Targum Yonatan says, Yonatan ben Uziel says, one of the kohanim. Aval bepasuk lamed bet, just another couple few psukim from now, kishniskar al kahanei bamot. When it talks about the kohanim of the high places, Tirgem komrei b'mata, kamosha Tirgem gam le'el Melachim aleph yud gimel lamed gimel. Im kain, if that's the case, nireh midvarav shehashaliach haya adam kasher. There's a whole machloket as to whether or not the kohen that comes to teach is himself a good person or not. And he claims that he, based on Targum Yonatan ben Uziel, he was a good person. It also says, which we're going to look at in a minute, in Pirkei de Rebbe Lazar, that the shaliach was one of the more important kohanim, that his name was Rabbi Dostai ben Yanai. Okay, let's take a look at this for a moment. This is Pirkei de Rebbe Lazar. It says as follows. Is this? I hope the slide's big enough for you to see. Yes? You just shake your heads yes or no. It is? Okay. I'm shaking my head yes because I can read it. When the Jews were exiled from their place in the Shomron to Bavel, Shalach HaMelech Avadav, the king sent his servants, Oshivu Otam b'Shomron, he sent his servants from other countries into the Samaria, the Halot Mas L'Malchut, in order to pay taxes. No, it's not, he didn't want to leave the land empty. Was one hand, he didn't want to leave it empty for the Jews to go back. And he also wanted to settle the people there so it prevents the Jews from going back. But he also wanted to make it be a money maker. So he sets it up to be a tax revenue generator. Ma'asa HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What did Hashem do? Shalach b'hem et harayot. He sent against these people the lions. Vayu orgim b'hem, and they killed them. Shalchu ve'amru. They sent messengers to say to the king, the Melech Bavel, Adonenu HaMelech, ha'aretz sheshalachnu alea eina mekabelet otanu. The land you sent us to doesn't accept us. Ki nish'anu me'at miharbe. We're only a few left from many. Evidently, a lot of people were killed. The Navi doesn't tell us how many. Shalach HaMelech v'kara lekol ziknei Yisrael. Now, this is what the Dat Sofrim was mentioning earlier, that Yirmiyahu doesn't tell us this in the text, but it tells us in the Midrash that the king of Assyria called all the elders of Israel, V'amar lem, and said to them, Kol hashanim halalu she'item ba'aretzachem lo shiklatchem chayot hasadeh. This is kind of what Ari was asking before. All the time that you lived in the land of Israel, Hashem never sent the wild animals from the fields against you. V'achshav, and now, eina mekabelet etchem. It doesn't accept them. Amrulo davar sheletza. They said to him an idea. Maybe bring them back to their place. Amrulo Adonenu HaMelech haaretz hahi eina mekabelet goy she'eno nimo. So the first thing they said, you know why it must be? That they must need a brit milah, because the land won't accept, it won't keep people who didn't have a brit. Amar lahem, so the king said to them, Tenu shnayim mikem, give up two of your people, and we're going to see it later in the text that it really ends up being two, not one. V'yelchu v'yilamdu Torah, they will go and teach Torah. Udvar HaMelech en hashiv. That's a quote directly from, where does it say this? Udvar HaMelech en hashiv. Come on. Where does it say this? It's going to be about, we're in Shvat, in Tevet rather. You have Tevet, Shvat, Adar. 2.5 months we're going to see this. It's in the Megillat Esther. Udvar HaMelech en lahashiv means it's once he sends out the edict, that's the way it's going to be. V'shalchu v'karu et Rabbi Dostai et Rabbi Yanai. He called two men, Rabbi Dostai and Rabbi Yanai, umalu otam, and they gave these people brit milah. Vayu melamdim otam Torah shebichtav, and he taught them Torah shebichtav, the written Torah. Notrikon. Notrikon is abbreviations. I'm going to read the last couple lines, but not get into it much. Ubochim. And these people started to follow the Torah. And also their gods. They feared God, but they worshipped their gods, lowercase g. We're going to see this in the text in a minute. So right now we see, go back to where we were here. We see that that the idea was that someone or someones were sent to the land of Israel to do more than just teach. Now we're being told here that they were to do Brit Milah and to teach Torah. What's the result of all this? Now let's go back into the text. Pasuk Kaf Chet 28. Vayavo echad mehakohanim. One of the kohanim came. Asher iglu mishomron, who had been exiled from Shomron, from Samaria, and he came back and he settled in Bet El, not too far from here. It's another beautiful thing about learning Navi in the land of Israel, because you're never too far away from the source of the story. Vayhi moreh otam, and he taught them ech yir'u et Hashem, how they should fear Hashem and what they should do. Now, does that mean they were taught Taryag mitzvot? Does it mean there? So let's just take it on Pashut Pshat, how to fear Hashem, to be in awe of Hashem. Let's move on to the next Pasuk. Kaftet, number 29. Vayiyu osim goy goy Elohav. It tells us something very strange. Here they are, and this is what the Midrash was telling us in Pirkei Reb Elazar. Here they are, they just were being given this instruction from the Kohen or Kohanim to fear Hashem. And what do? In addition to that, each nation built more idols or gods. And they placed them in the various houses of their altars or high places. Asher asu hashomronim. Goy be'arehem hem yoshvim sham. Each nation, according to its own avodah zarah, which they settled, built their own idols. Now, before I read the next two sentences, which are going to tell us what they built and what their names were, we have to understand what was going on here. If a Jew is forced to worship an idol, chas v'shalom, someone puts a gun to the person's head and says, bow down to this idol, worship Yeshu, or you're going to get killed. We know that that's one of the three mitzvot yahareg val yavor. However, what if that person decides, you know what, I'm going to do it. Because in my heart, I know I love Hashem. I'm not doing this with my heart. I'm doing it just outwardly. It's not enough. It doesn't work. It doesn't work, and it's a topic which we'll deal with down the road in my other class, Bezrat Hashem. By the Jewish people, there's no concept of shituf. Shituf is something we've talked about before a couple times, is the combination, the combo platter. I'll take a little bit of God and I'll take a little bit of the Avodah Zarah. It doesn't work that way. Even if it's only external, even if it's not in the heart at all. So therefore, it still remains Yahareg val Yavor. You still have to give up your life. If a person would have to give up their life instead of worshiping Avodah Zarah, even if it's only external, not internal, so that we don't have shituf, we don't have a combination of Hashem and another God. By the non-Jews, by the idolaters, it was more or less common, as we saw earlier, outside these nations, that they would serve their idols, but they still believe there's some greater thing out there, greater than them all. They refer to them as Elokad Elokaya, the God of our gods, or God of gods, other than these nations. The people of these nations were told, evidently, they didn't think that way. They just thought their gods are their gods, and that's the be all and end all. And now what they're doing is they've been taught about Yirat Hashem, fearing Hashem, and at the same time they bolster their avodah zarah. Let's take a look at what they do with that. By the way, just to mention to you, the Radak tells us, I was reading a note I wrote to myself, the Radak tells us that they accepted Hashem, as I mentioned, but I didn't say it was him, as the supreme God over everything, but still believed that their gods had some power. So what they do is tribute to their gods. I'm going to read Pasuk Lamed and Pasuk Lamed Aleph, and then we're going to look at a Gemara in Sanhedrin about these names. Anshe Bavel asu et Sukkot benot. The people of Bavel built an idol or idols called Sukkot benot. Anshe Kut asu et Nirgal, and the people from Kut built an idol called Nirgal. Anshe Hamat asu et Ashima. People from Hamat built an idol called Ashima. Veha Avim asu Nivchaz, and the people of Avim built Nivchaz, which may or may not be the right name. Matter of fact, we'll see maybe tonight that there's a dispute if this Zion, this large Zion, should have been a Nun. Ve'et Tartak. They also built a idol called Tartak. Vasvarvayim, Sorfim et B'nehem Ba'esh. They were such nice people. The Svarvayim, they kind of went to the next step, next level. They burned their kids in fire. L'Adar Melech, to the idol called Adar Melech. Va'ana Melech Elohei Svarvayim. They're such nice people. These are very strange names. Okay, so what is the significance of these names? Take a look. Yeah, here it is. Okay, I'm going to pick it up. This is a Gemara in Sanhedrin from right here where it says Amar Rabbi Huda, Amar Rav, right? The 1, 2, third line down in the middle. Amar Rabbi Huda, Amar Rav. V'anshe Bavel asu et Sukkot benot. Now it's going to quote these psukim and it can tell us what these things were. Umay nihu, what were they? Meaning, what was their shape? Tarnagolet. It meant that they built an idol the shape of a chicken, a hen. Vanshe kuta suet nargal. Umay nihu, what was that? Tarnagol. One built a tarnagolet, and one built a tarnagol. Vanshe chamata suet ashima. Umay nihu, what was that? Barta karta. Okay, to look in Rashi with this, I don't remember. Ve'avim asu nivchan. Now notice here it says nivchan with a nun, right? I'm not going to I might get to it in a few minutes. We'll see. They built nivchan and tartak, umayniu kelev v'chamor, a dog and a donkey. Vasvaravim sorfim et b'nehem, ba'esh ladal melech v'ana melech, Elohei sarfavayim, umayniu hapered v'asus. They were the mule and the horse. And okay, fine. That's the rest of it. Okay. Nothing is happenstance. Every one of these things has a very specific reason why they were shaped in the way they were shaped. I might come to this in a minute. Take it off here. And to understand deeper meanings behind these things of why they made their idols and the shapes they made their idols and what their importance were, I would suggest do a little of your own reading, a little look at some of the Farshim. I'm not going to get into it at all, but each one had its own connection to this various animal and therefore made their idol in such a fashion. The earliest record of something we have of an idol made in the shape of a particular animal that we learned goes all the way back to, we didn't learn it actually. Sorry. No, it was in Sefer Shoftim. We never learned Sefer Shoftim. I told you I have a bias against it. I mean, I love Sefer Shoftim. I shouldn't say that. I just don't like teaching it. Is the idol Dagon, which was shaped like a large fish, and how whatever it falls and all kinds of fun stuff there. So there is some significance to these names. I just want to make one comment here on this one name, which is Nivchaz. Okay, it says it's supposed to be, if you in some of your printings, it probably even says it has a little star or something. It has a little star. It says Zayin Ravati, like a large Zion. Now there is a commentary on Tanakh known as the Minchat Shai. Minchat Shai takes all these large letters and small letters and extra, like the upside down nuns in the Torah by Bahalotacha, and missing letters and Ktiv and Kri sometimes, and tries to give us more information on them. Not every single one. Here is from all the times I have looked at Nichat Shai many times over the years, is the only time I personally remember that he says that the way we have it in most of our printings is wrong. And the Gemara is actually right on this. Okay, so let's take a look. I just want this as a little curiosity thing. Vimasu nivchaz, the Zayin. Katav Radak bezayin. Radak says it's with a Zayin. Yesh sovrim ktiv benun. That it should be written with a nun. V'ta'utu bisfarim ad kad lashono. And this one opinion is that what the Radak says that it's a mistake in the other books where it's with a nun. Okay, that's the Radak's opinion. It should be a Zayin and not a nun, and the nun's a mistake. Bikrot gedolot begilyon katuv let zayin rabati. V'ulai zot haita sibat hataut. Ach lo matzatiha ken b'shum nusach me'alfa beta rabatit. B'sfarim acharim ktav yad nimsar alav let ktiv zayin umilat rabati enena. So he says he had available to him various kitvei yad manuscripts. None of them had a Zayin, and none of them even had a footnote that said Zayin Rabati, that should be a large Zayin. Ubal derech emunah b'mamar aleph, and I don't know what the sefer is, but whatever it is, in mamar aleph, shar bet, katav hefech zeh, v'zeh lo shayich v'nechtav ben nun, ze'ira, that was actually written with a small nun, ad sherabim chashvu al Zayin. Originally, that was written as a small nun, not a regular nun, but a small nun for whatever reason. And then people started to think it was a Zayin. So therefore, they made it a large nun instead of a large Zayin, which is the proper nusach. He says, "Nuscha ktav yad mi'otiot ktanot nimne betochan shin v'ha'avim asu nivchaz ve'en ken b'masoret acherot." He comes out that the word should be nivchan. Now, I don't understand why he doesn't just quote the Gemara that we just looked at. It does say that. Again, it doesn't change our tahalich, our mahalach here, what we're doing. And just I wanted to mention that not everything is as accepted as just because it says it somewhere in a book. Okay, so where we're holding here, we're going to pick up Bezrat Hashem Sunday, is Pasuk Lamed Bet, because we're going to have another couple psukim, and then it's going to be a little bit more of an indictment of the Northern Kingdom before we get into some other fun stuff. Because pretty much after this, the scene is going to shift it starting the next parak to what happens from now to the end of the Sefer, the next few prakim, which is not a lot, 7 more chapters. What happens with the Mamlechet Yehuda? And as you all know, it doesn't end with a pretty picture. So on that very happy note, wish you all a Chanukah Sameach Chodesh Tov again. Enjoy the 2 more days left of Chanukah. And there was something I was going to tell you. No, I changed my mind. Okay, fine. That's it. I would normally say Shavua Tov because it's Sunday night, but you can still have a Shavua Tov, whatever's left. All right. Be well, everybody. Thanks, Sameach.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.